Thank you so very much. We're so excited to have all of you here with us today. Welcome, welcome, welcome. I love the introduction music. It kind of got me excited in the right frame of mind to share with you, my colleagues here at the firm, about all of our opportunities that we have. But first and foremost, let me introduce myself. My name is Jade Sims. I am a campus recruiter here at BlackRock, and I am located in our DC office. So once again, thank you for joining us after a long day, I'm sure, for all of us. To learn a little bit more about who we are and about BlackRock. I want to hop on in so you can hear from some of my colleagues here that we have on the line. But first and foremost, I want to share with you why you're here. So BlackRock has this wonderful opportunity for you to speed up your summer intern search by participating in our 2022 Summer Analyst Accelerator. So what this means is that you have the ability to basically obtain a summer internship for next year early and in advance of us doing our kind of general recruitment processes later on in the year. So as a part of this summer internship accelerator program, we are offering 2 tracks for students who are graduating between August 2022 and July 2023. And if you are eligible for either or both of these tracks, you will have that chance to participate in this program, attend educational webinars, network with some of our amazing employees, and start off your fall semester with a summer internship offer in hand. Just to give you a rundown of these 2 tracks that we do have as a part of this program, we have first our BlackRock Founder Scholarship Program. This program, or this track in particular, are for diverse students who demonstrated leadership while exemplifying the BlackRock principles in the community. And we'll talk a little bit about those principles in action. I'm sure some of our amazing colleagues will be able to touch on those a little bit later. Those eligible students are those who self-identify as Black or African American, Latinx or Hispanic, Native American, LGBTQ plus and or disabled, okay? And scholarship recipients that follow this track or elect this track will receive a merit award of $17,500. What's exciting about this merit award is sometimes with scholarship programs, the payment is made directly to the school, or sometimes you have to use your scholarship payment for certain things such as housing or for tuition, but we make this merit award payment directly to you so you can use it how you see fit for your education, okay? The second track that we offer as a part of this program is Fast Track to FinTech. And this is for students who are interested in analytics and risk opportunities or technology opportunities that we have here at the firm. Eligible students for this track will self-identify as female, and again, seeking those summer internship opportunities in either a technology role or an analytics and risk role, all right? So how do you apply to these programs? Really quickly, you're just gonna go to our website and you're gonna submit an application as you normally would for our 2022 Summer Analyst program. But what you'll need to do is check off the box to elect that you want to opt into the BlackRock Founder Scholarship, or check off the box that you want to elect into the Fast Track to FinTech scholarship, or if you're eligible for both, you can check both boxes and you'll receive a link to complete your virtual cover letter if you are applying to a non-software engineering role. Or if you're applying to a software engineering role, you'll receive a link to complete a coding assessment. And so just note the 2 differences there. And then we'll go through the rest of the program with interviews and scheduling your interviews and having you meet with different people from the firm. And then finally, if you're part of the BlackRock Founder Scholarship Program, since that does have that merit award component, there is a scholarship essay that you will need to receive, and that'll be part of your final evaluation as to whether you are a scholarship recipient. The deadline to apply to this accelerator program is Monday, August 2nd, 2021 at 8 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So we are about, 2.5 weeks away from our deadline. What a perfect time for us to be sharing this event and this opportunity with you. But even more perfect than that is I brought some friends along to talk to you a little bit more about this program and their experience at BlackRock. I'm going to start with you, Brie, and kind of work my way around the room, but would love for you all, each of you panelists, to introduce yourselves. Talk about your name, the business that you're working with, your school, a little bit about your role in your team, and then we'll get into how you prepared for this, for your respective interview opportunities with BlackRock. So Brie, I'll turn it over to you.
Awesome. Thanks, Jade. Welcome, everybody. Glad to be speaking to you today. My name is Bre Charles. I started at BlackRock last summer full-time on our Aladdin client services team. So that team is situated on the technology side of BlackRock and helps support the software that we sell to other businesses. I had the pleasure of interviewing in both the fast track to FinTech and the Founder Scholarship interview processes. So happy to speak to both of those. I went to University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill, where I majored in business, and I graduated in the year of our pandemic, 2020. So that was super fun.
Love it. Thank you, Brie. Forrest, you're kind of next on my screen. Kicking it over to you.
Hey everyone, I'm Forrest. I'm usually based in the New York office, but I'm out in California right now. I graduated in 2020, and so I'm currently an associate, and I am a software engineer on what we call Aladdin Wealth Tech, which is our group that builds essentially risk analytics and optimization software for wealth management, so individual portfolios that belong to individual people. I came in to BlackRock through the Founder Scholarship program as an intern, and I heard about the program at an event that was similar to this, just kind of a conference that I stumbled into because some people from school recommended that I attend. So this is how it works. I went to University of Chicago as well.
Nice, Forrest. Thank you. And love that plug. This is how you find out about these events, guys. So again, we are excited to be here with you because you never know how it can turn out. Maybe you'll be like Forrest and be a software engineer on our Aladdin Wealth Tech team. Daisy, you are next for me on my screen. I know everyone would love to hear from you.
Awesome. Thanks, Jade. Hi, everyone. My name is Daisy Medina. I'm an analyst in global provider strategy within business operations. I've been at the firm for about 2 years now. I joined the firm in 2018 as a BlackRock Founder Scholar as well. And similar to Forrest, I was scrolling through Way Up and came across the scholarship myself as well. Everything went well, got both the scholarship as well as the opportunity to intern at BlackRock and the team I am in now. So, strongly encourage you to definitely take a look at this opportunity. My team works specifically with all the asset servicing banks. So I have exposure to, our external partnerships as well with all the banks that service BlackRock. So it's been, a great experience learning and, definitely connecting with our banks, but also internally within the firm. I'm also a UC Berkeley alumni. So anyone out there at Cal, go Bears. But with that, I'll pass it back to you, Jade.
Thank you, Daisy. And I do see some Berkeley students in the chat. So feel free to represent your school if someone is a fellow alum with you. Tylin, you are next on my screen. I know you go by Ty, but I'll allow you to introduce yourself so that people can get to know you.
Thank you, Jade. Happy to be here. My name is Tylin, as Jade said, but feel free to call me Ty. I think I've gotten acclimated to that nickname pretty well. I am an analyst on our manager research team within multi-asset strategies and solutions. It's a mouthful. We at BlackRock love acronyms. You'll find that out hopefully through the panel, and we'll try to define those for you guys as such. I graduated from Rutgers University on the North Campus, and I did see one Rutgers University in the chat, so shout out to them. And I had a degree in finance with a minor in social justice. So definitely, love being in touch with the community. In terms of my role at BlackRock, I actually sit within our OCIO, which is our outsourced chief investment office team. So you guys can think about your schools and your endowments at your schools. They'll come to BlackRock with a pool of money. And I actually sit in a very interesting seat that helps select investment managers to invest that money on behalf of your endowment, per se, as one example. Joined the firm last year in the BlackRock Founders Scholars class of 2020, and happy to be on a panel. Back over to you, Jade.
Wonderful. No big deal. Just helping endowments grow and continue to grow. Love that. Last but certainly not least, Michelle, it's over to you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jade. Hi, everyone. My name is Michelle Narbonne. My nickname is Mimi. You can call me either. So excited to be here. I work on the engineering team here at BlackRock. I can give a little bit of a background for what our technology is. Forrest dove into it briefly. So at BlackRock, we have a technology called Aladdin, which is an investment and risk management technology that helps institutions manage their investment book of business, which, as Ty had got into, such as an endowment and or a pension, such as the New York State teachers pension, or another large financial institution, such as potentially a competitor to BlackRock. And then BlackRock, of course, is our largest client for managing this technology. So I work on like the COO or business management team, which it might be called, across industries. And so on my team, I work on a lot of the business management and strategy initiatives for the engineering organization. So I'm not an engineer myself. I actually joined BlackRock in 2015. I went to Brown University. I worked in marketing for 2 years, and I actually worked on some of the marketing stuff that Ty's team does. So marketing to those endowments and other institutions about some of those outsourced chief investment officer initiatives. So I love hearing that that's what you work on, Ty. This is great internal connections too. So I did that for 2 years. Then I moved over to this role working on some strategy projects for our technology leadership. So today I work on a lot of our tech cultural initiatives, such as our firm-wide hackathon, our BlackRock engineering blogs. We have an external blog on Medium where we write a lot of tech content. And I work on a lot of our other fun tech cultural initiatives, as well as supporting our leadership for client presentations and other events like that. And I'm also here to answer kind of broad questions as it relates to BlackRock as well as tech. I didn't come through either of these programs, but I work closely with the recruiting team, HR team, and some of the individuals across here. Forrest is a great advocate for a lot of our tech cultural events as well. So I'll stop there, but over to you, Jade.
No, wonderful. Thank you so much. And as you guys see today, we have a wealth of knowledge, wealth of experience across various industries. And so one thing that is unique to all of us, or not unique rather to all of us, is that you at some point you had to apply for this role at BlackRock. So Brie, I'm going to come back to you. Talk a little bit about interview prep. What did you do to prepare for this BlackRock opportunity? And what advice do you have for our audience today?
Yeah, for sure. I think as far as preparation, and I think this goes probably for any role at any company, it's go on the internet and find out as much as you can about the team that you're interviewing for and the work that they do, and do that with genuine interest, right? And try to get as best of a grasp as you can get on that as possible. I know sometimes it gets really difficult, especially with BlackRock, when trying to research Aladdin. There's not a lot, I'm going to say, of external documentation to allow people to know how it works, right? But doing that to your best of ability and like just trying to understand in like a general context how it works would be great. I think also it's always good to, stay up to date on current market trends as well. At the end of the day, we always will be a finance company. And so having some understanding of what's going on in the finance world, even if you don't have necessarily a purely finance or business background, is always super helpful.
Absolutely. I think that's really helpful. Forrest, with you being kind of situated in that tech space, working with fellow software engineers, how was the prep different, or was it the same as Brie described for you?
Yeah, I think a lot of it is quite similar, especially for, an intern role. We'll understand that, a lot of people may have only had a year to a year and a half of kind of specific domain knowledge in terms of software development or computer science. And, lots of people, this will be their very first internship. And so you certainly shouldn't feel like, oh, I need to have had an internship beforehand. Like, this being your first internship is great. Certainly, the interview will test some level of, software engineering knowledge, kind of basics of, some basic data structure and algorithm stuff that you would see in a lot of interviews. But, in all honesty, the kind of the behavioral questions are more important in a lot of ways, I would say, showing a genuine interest in BlackRock and understanding of what we do, kind of a commitment to like what we call our BlackRock principles, which are really, really important to us. Those kinds of things are incredibly important as well.
Love that. Love that expansion into some of the other things that are just as important as the hard skills, right? And understanding that. Daisy and Ty, I want to kind of flip the question a little bit differently. How did you guys pick the team that you were interested in joining or applying to? Talk a little bit about, the research into how you knew what you wanted to do when you grew up. Daisy, we'll start with you.
Yeah, thanks, Jade. So for me, I think the process of even applying was a little bit different too. I actually graduated from Berkeley thinking I was going to be, pre-law. So I graduated pre-law, thought law school was the route for me until I came up with the scholarship. Obviously, having the opportunity to both get the scholarship and intern at BlackRock, that gave me a lot of perspective. And I realized, hey, business can actually be something for me, and I can actually thrive in a firm like BlackRock. And so, when I applied for the scholarship, there is an opportunity to work with global provider strategy. I also interviewed within our EII department. So had both exposure within, two teams I was interviewing for and, landing the team I am in now. So, for me, it really landed, and I was very fortunate to, again, kind of pivot and given the opportunity to experience a firm like BlackRock, to experience like, hey, maybe business can be for me when you think you're so siloed into one direction. Again, the scholarship provided me that opportunity to intern. So just seeing, meeting others who, again, also not everyone at BlackRock comes in, with a business background. And so to hear from them as well, like why the pivot from chemistry to finance, and seeing how business can be for us, finance can be for us as well. And so for me, I think I found my niche in BlackRock, and definitely been learning a ton, even within the 2 years that I've been here at the firm. But Ty, I'll pass it over to you.
Thank you, Daisy. I think that what you highlight is very important. Actually, I think that, finding the opportunity or thinking about it, like a part of it was kind of the commitment that I did, but the firm also helped me in a lot of ways find my path. I actually started with the firm in Princeton during my internship with an investment team down in Princeton. And, I actually really loved the culture, loved my manager and loved the team, but ultimately didn't want to be in the location of Princeton. So it actually was the effort and a lot of senior leaders and colleagues, including my manager of the internship, really, having my back, asking me what I was interested in, and really coming to my aid and helping me find the perfect seat in multi-asset strategies and solutions where I am now, where I think is definitely a great role. And I ended up choosing this role just because of how dynamic it is and how dynamic my days are, and the fact that I could look at all of the asset classes of equity, fixed income, and alternatives. And not be necessarily, without understanding which one I might want to go down, I'll be able to, kind of figure that out within the team. But I think, BlackRock and the culture of the firm had a lot to do with me finding my perfect spot in the firm.
Love that, Ty. And we're going to get into that in just a little bit. Mimi, your expertise, you're able to kind of see students come through BlackRock, come through these variety of programs, and even see them kind of blossom into future BlackRock hackathon participants. What common themes and threads do you see kind of in your world or your sphere that are helpful for students once they obtain the internship, or once they are an intern here, or once they're an analyst here as well?
Of course, yes. So that's a great question. So I think it really varies. So as I had mentioned before, my role is really kind of focused on a lot of these different tech cultural initiatives and enabling employees to, take advantage of what's available to build their career, to work on what they're interested in, ask questions, access leaders. I also kind of like to act as like a someone to kind of listen to the larger group and bring feedback back to the leadership, considering like I'm more the same level as a lot of my peers across the organization. So I think what I would say is the initiative to take advantage of the opportunities at BlackRock and not being afraid to raise your hand. So I say that because there's a ton of things that happen across BlackRock, and I'm meeting new colleagues on this call today and that I can make connections with. And so I think it's employee's ability to be like, I'm interested in this and I'm going to pursue that, and I'm not going to be scared to email this MD or to reach out to this person or to ask my manager to take on more. And so examples of that are like our hackathon. If you work on a cool hackathon project, that could change the direction of your career. So Forrest, actually, the product he works on started as a hackathon idea. So the head engineer in his group is actually a tech fellow at BlackRock, which is a recognition that we give to our senior technologists across the firm for exceptional technology contributions and leadership. And so Matt is one of the tech fellows, but he also, it was his idea to do this new version of Aladdin as a hackathon project. So that's just an example of incredible initiative to really work on something different, and then it turns into a revenue generating business. So not being afraid to ask questions, raise your hand, and find new opportunities. Something else, for example, that I see a lot is people have a certain interest and they think, who does that here and how do I do that? And I say, no one does that, but if you want to do it, you can do it. So we're going to, for example, put on like an internal Python conference, and someone reached out about that, being like, who will do this? And I said, well, you're going to do it and we're going to enable you to do that. So I think that's a huge opportunity. Like, obviously we all need to do that at school as well, take advantage of those opportunities. But I really think, don't be afraid. If it doesn't exist, you can make it happen at BlackRock.
Love that. You can certainly make it happen and kind of create your own journey here. So that's really great. Want to talk about the variety of teams that we have represented with all of you panelists here on the call tonight. We'll start with you, Brie. I promise we're going to do this round robin all night just to hear from you all. But talk about some of the skills that you use in your day-to-day, and anything that you can think of, like, I was good at this when I was applying, and now I'm better at XYZ. Like, just talk about the skills that you use, anything that you've grown in, because sometimes I think as you're searching for an internship, what you're good at, and maybe you shy away from some of the things that may challenge you, but the internship is meant to teach, right? So just talk a little bit about that experience for you.
Yeah, absolutely. I actually have a really great example of this. So during my internship on the Latin Client Services team, essentially we have the way the team's structured, I guess, to give some background, is that we have 5 different buckets within our group. So we have our trading support team, we have our investment tools support team, compliance, operations, and I always blank on the 5th one. This literally happens on every call. I said trading, data, there we go. And so coming from a business background and doing a lot of just like investment work in college, I always kind of gravitated more towards our trading workflows and supporting those clients. And what does that look like? That's taking client phone calls, that's dealing with client inquiry as that comes in, as far as Aladdin not working as it should, or things in numbers and looking off. But was always very scared of investment tools and analytics because it's just never been my strong suit. I would say since I started my job, I've jumped head into that. Aladdin, and I feel like BlackRock as a whole is such a great firm in like kind of confronting your fears and taking that on, right? With the help of my manager, I've progressed a lot in that regard, and I actually now work on the investment tools team. So what was my least favorite part of my internship is now my job, and I'm super psyched and happy about it and love to talk about it. But I feel like that speaks to just like the culture at BlackRock, again, of pushing you to grow. But it also speaks to the ability to gain various technical skills in both technology itself, my growth in SQL and Unix, as well as finance knowledge on the technology side of our business. And I feel like I've grown in both those areas exponentially since I started with BlackRock.
Love that, Brie. Thank you for that. Forrest, what about you?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I think one of the kind of big overarching things that I've learned is just, how different it is building software in a kind of a big environment where people are really relying on it. BlackRock, we produce tons of APIs that lots of other clients, pay a lot of money to use, lots of, risk and analytics APIs. And, we have very high uptime requirements. Those people need to use them all the time. They need to work. And so just kind of engineering for kind of what is essentially kind of demanding clients and really ensuring that our services are going to work over the long haul, that we're not, putting, too much stress on all the different resources that we have, like the database and the network, kind of thinking through kind of the big picture of how the software works and how it interacts with kind of the entire ecosystem is what I spend a lot of my time doing. And it's a lot more interesting than just kind of coding a piece of software. It's much more thinking about a broad system and how we're able to kind of make a bunch of different pieces work together in a productive way.
Wonderful. Daisy, any insights to add there with your role?
Yeah, I mean, for my specific team, we're working with our custodial accounting agents, transfer agents. And so again, my role, my day-to-day requires to be on the phone constantly, both externally with the banks, but also internally with several business operation teams at the firm. I apologize, there's a whining dog behind me. The perks of working from home. But in terms of the skills that I've been able to both learn and also grow really well at, I was very uncomfortable being in front of the room and even just picking up the phone. I think speaking for 5 minutes was, I would be like, very nervous. And now I can, holding a meeting and moderating a session or pitching a deck for an hour long, that just comes so easily now. And I think, again, you have the opportunity to both speak and present, your work both internally, specifically for my team, working with a global team, working around time zones, just waking up early, and just all the little nuances that come with a global firm like BlackRock, and especially a global team. Things like picking up the phone and speaking with, a director from a different bank, those just come naturally now. So working on communication skills, also, your softer skills as presentation, creating decks, and also your technical skills. I live in Excel, I create dashboards, I create risk reports. And so there has been a balance of both for myself, which has allowed me to both grow in my skill set, but also learn new ones. So again, it's been a learning experience and a great learning curve for myself, so far within the 2 years I've been here.
Ty, of course, we got to hear from you.
Yep. Daisy, definitely echoing your sentiments on the waking up early as part of a global team. Actually, fortunate enough, though, I think the cool part about that is like having, half our team in Europe and some members in the APAC region, is that you really get to connect with a lot of different cultures. And I think that's very important. And when I think of some of the skills I learned, it's like some of those silly little things that I didn't think too much about back in undergrad, like reading and writing. My role is like a product strategy, more research oriented role. But aside from being a researcher where you do naturally do a lot of reading and writing, I could probably ask any member on the panel about how many emails they write a day. And so it's those little skills that really go a long way in terms of being prepared. But in terms of being within an investment team, I think that, Jade mentioned it too, always being, and Brie, always being abreast of the markets, what's going on as part of a finance company. But, having an open ear and being able to really work on a team. I know one of our principles is one BlackRock, and I feel that a lot in a multi-asset team, because we have colleagues in fixed income, we have colleagues on equity, colleagues in alternatives, that we all, we lean on them at great lengths. And so, being able to connect with all of them and communicate with all of them is super important. But aside from all that, I think that, at the end of the day, leaning into some things that you're passionate about and really, speaking up about that, and it's something the firm really loves, and they value your voice. And so finding it is something that, they've also helped me to do. And I think that those are some of the skill sets that I've learned within my time here.
I think that's great, Ty. And I want to kind of tie in all of the advice and insights that you all have given into some of the questions that we're receiving in the Q&A. And so people are asking, what qualities or experiences is BlackRock looking for while we're recruiting, or what technical skills should be expected, or how do I prepare for the interview? And I think we've touched on that in some of the responses that we've heard here. Doing your research on the company, knowing who BlackRock is, and then knowing what function, knowing the function and kind of like the history, or what what does that function do? You want to have a little bit of a working knowledge. You're not expected to be a professional or to be an expert in those areas, because the internship will teach you that. But know a little bit about who BlackRock is. Know a little bit about the FinTech industry. Know about some market trends. You'll hear, a number of people say, be a student of the markets. Even if you're not hoping to be a portfolio manager or an investor one day, know what's happening in the markets, because that impacts BlackRock as a whole. And then Forrest gave us some technical skills. Listen, we're not expected to be a professional coder as you're taking on this internship opportunity, but some tech proficiency will be very much beneficial to you. And so be, confident in that. Bring that to the table, depending on what the roles are you're looking into. But I think doing your research, being prepared, and setting yourself up to be able to answer questions that connect and align with your passion and your interests will bode well for you in the recruiting process. I want to shift to a little bit about BlackRock's culture. And Mimi, I'm going to turn this over to you, because I feel like the work that you do in pushing the BlackRock culture forward, in some spaces really aligns with that. And definitely want to hear from the rest of the panelists about some of the things that they're doing to, outside of work, to make BlackRock a better place. Mimi, can you talk a little bit about some of those, recruiting events or conferences, or just BlackRock's general kind of cultural overview for us?
Totally, of course. So I had talked a bit about the hackathon, so I won't keep kind of going over that, but I would say that is a huge testament to our culture of innovation. Like, the CEO loves the hackathon. Like, if you are one of the finalists of the hackathon, you present to all the senior leaders at a big conference that they host, and it is a total grassroots event that I think was started about 7 years ago, because the tech leadership wanted to, not even leadership, I think like tech teams just wanted to innovate. So that's just a huge kind of testament to our culture of innovation and focus on technology. But I think kind of separate from that, Jade, what you had mentioned too, is that we go to a lot of external tech conferences, and we go to a lot of conferences across the board. This isn't just in the tech space, but some of the ones that I work on, we most recently went to the Pride Summit, which was hosted by Lesbians Who Tech, and we're also going to the conference Grace Hopper, which some people might also be familiar with, at the end of September. So there are two large tech conferences for anyone. Of course, the Pride Summit is the largest LGBTQ conference, and then and Grace Hopper is the largest Women in Computing conference, but both are open to any attendees. So those conferences, getting the group of employees together that want to learn and, soak in such amazing speakers and educational sessions from those conferences is such a fun thing for us. We used to go to those in person, which we hopefully will be doing soon, but even engaging in those virtually have been incredible. And also, of course, we're recruiting at all of those events too. So meeting prospective candidates, talking to people. Again, so excited to be able to do that in person again. So those are some great elements that I think just really show how committed we are to kind of building a more inclusive and diverse workplace for everyone. I think, more internally, we are, of course, really focused on creating that culture of belonging and that sense of belonging. And I'm sure a lot of you guys here at these events, people say like, oh yeah, you want to be a culture fit or something like that. And we actually at the Lesbians Who Tech conference, we're talking about this. Culture fit is like not something we want to say anymore. You guys don't need to fit in at BlackRock. Like, we are creating a culture of belonging, which you are bringing. We want you to be able to bring your full self to work, and you just belong because there's a culture of that. It's not that you have to fit into the culture. So I think that's why I'm still here, because I feel like I truly can be my, weird, quirky self and not have to fit into this certain culture of finance and or tech. And we really kind of do foster that that sense of belonging. And so I hope that is what most people feel. I definitely feel it myself, and it's attributed to a lot of the different initiatives that we do. But yeah.
Great answer. And it resonated with someone in the audience. They sent up, a little heart. So we love to hear that. Other panelists, I know that some of you are, most of you actually, are part of our employee networks. I'm going to make this one a tag team. So feel free to hop in and just share your experience with working with employee networks. What are some of the initiatives that you've, witnessed our employee networks doing, and what are the employee networks at BlackRock? So I'll let anyone hop in. Ty, Forrest, Bre, Daisy, whoever wants to go off mute and take that one.
Happy to start and kind of shout out Black Professionals Network at BlackRock. I think that a lot of professionals within that network encourage me to come to the firm. There are a lot of the reason why I came, and then when I think about my group of the multi-asset team, there was 2 specific Black individuals there who I think was hugely kind of important for my consideration or wanting the desire to go to that team, knowing that I'll be able to have those 2 people by my side as outlets. But one of the key events or initiatives that the network has done that I've participated in my short time at the firm is they created a mentor-mentee program, and it's been actually great. I have a great mentor, and they actually are within our portfolio and analytics group. So our work is entirely different, but I often find our conversations have nothing to do with work, and sometimes even less about BlackRock. And I think it's been very important just have another guide at the firm, and also see the allyship of the employees at the firm. Like my mentor specifically is a Caucasian woman, and I think it's great. It's great perspective to have, and when you see that allyship, it really does make you feel like you belong. To your point, Mimi.
I'm happy to follow on that. Within my time here at the firm, I've also been very closely involved within 2 specific networks. One is the Somos Latina Network at BlackRock, which is our Latinx network, which we've focused on connectivity, connecting our Latinx colleagues, creating a community within the firm, office by office, and globally as well. So we've been working on connectivity within the network and also career enablement. So this year we created a pilot program that connected cohort participants to leaders, managing directors at the firm, to provide a safe space where we can bring up conversations on internal mobility or promotions, questions that anyone would have, providing that within our community and of Latinx colleagues. I've also been closely connected with our women's network as well. So I'm co-chair of WIN Personal Finance, where I've been able to work with several colleagues across the SF office to create programming. We have a brown bag series where we're going to be creating a lunch series, again, to connect 8 to 10 individuals once a month to a director at the firm on a specific topic. So we're always working to provide connectivity, but also opportunities where people can grow in their skill set, and as well as bring up questions that are questions on topics like career mobility and such. So again, you have really great networks, but that aside from our goals of meeting certain events, I've personally just connected with great women at the firm to even in our virtual environment, just to meet other women, learn about their teams, and also within my Latinx community, connecting with people who connect with my culture, being able to speak my native language and just in a casual setting. It's been, for me, as Michelle put it, right, our whole selves to work, and it's been able to provide me personally the opportunity to do that outside of my day-to-day.
Yeah, just to add on, I just want to go back to Mimi's point about the not looking for culture fits, but creating more of an inclusive culture within BlackRock. I think that's super, super important, and so important to what we're trying to build here. I've been lucky enough to help work on our hiring efforts here out of the Atlanta office as far as lateral hires go for my team. And that's something I've definitely noticed that's been part of the conversations. It's not, does their personality or the way they grew up or the situation that they're in now mimic mine? It's, what different viewpoints can they bring to the table? What about their background is going to create a more diverse, inclusive culture here in our office and in the broader BlackRock? And that, as someone who now works here and is like on the other side, has been so great to see, because that's going to build the firm and how it looks in 5 years, in 10 years, in 15 years. So that's been awesome.
Love that. That's great. On this kind of topic of culture, we have a great question that came in from Cooper Hansen. So thank you, Cooper. And he says, while researching before applying to BlackRock, I was able to see a high job satisfaction rate with employees, around 73%. This is an obvious testament to the culture that exists at BlackRock. So he's curious, what is your experience working with a group of highly driven peers? And how does the structure of your team allow you to have a voice in what it is that you do? Great question, Cooper.
Happy to kind of take that and kick off. I do think it's a great question. So shout out to you, Cooper. I think it's two ways. I'm gonna talk about really quickly and two like kind of stories that happened to me when I started. The first one is my second week on the desk. We actually, within my investment team, they wanted to start a manager diversity initiative. So you all may have heard the stat that under 2% of the assets managed by the whole world is managed by women-owned or minority-owned firms. And so that was something I was hugely passionate about even before I came to BlackRock. But when, you almost, as an analyst, you come in, you don't feel like, you'll be able to kind of work on something that impactful right away. And I was so wrong, because my manager put me right on that project, and I actually, built the database and going out to our managers and finding out what their statistics were, to now we've actually started to have conversations with those women-owned and minority-owned managers. And I've been a part of those discussions, and there's still a lot more to happen. But being involved from the very beginning, I know when we get to our end goal, and hopefully you guys will see some cool news that comes out to when we get to the end of the project, that, it'll feel very rewarding. That, alongside with, having senior leaders invite me into a conversation where I was sitting on a call similar to this, and there was literally 6 or 7 MDs looking to partner with our local high school in the Bronx on how BlackRock could help them. And so I've been extremely lucky and blessed to kind of have opportunities to do those kind of things. But I think it speaks to the voice and kind of what the firm wants to hear from even the analysts. It's really flat. And MDs and directors, they do really want your perspective and want to hear what you think from a culture perspective.
Yeah, one thing I'll add on, and kind of in terms of like the job satisfaction side of things, BlackRock is really committed as a firm to growth of junior people. And I think that's something that's really sets BlackRock apart. A lot of companies hire a lot of junior people and expect a high proportion of them to leave and kind of just pick a few to kind of promote into the higher levels of leadership. But that's definitely not BlackRock's approach to development or, kind of employee professional growth at all. There's just, really great managers across the board. And, I've certainly, one of the primary reasons why I've stayed at BlackRock as long as I have is because the career growth and kind of the professional development is so good. And, it's like, you can talk to your managers, you can talk to the leadership of your group or your team, and, you really feel heard, and you understand that kind of they're looking out for you. They have, a plan for you, 3 years out, 5 years out. They're willing to work with you and make sure that they get you to where you want to be.
Love that. Any other insights about how your voice is amplified on your team? I know one thing on my team, I work in HR, but I feel like, sometimes you could just do what you do and review resumes and host events like this. But it was really encouraging to have, I actually got in trouble for this. My manager asked me for my feedback. And I think that was kind of like the first time it ever really happened in my career. And so she was like, I let her know my thoughts about something. And she was like, how long have you been sitting on this idea? And I was like, about 2 weeks. And she was like, don't ever do that again. If you have an idea, you bring it to the table. We have a weekly kind of recruiter strategy meeting to talk about our approach to recruiting and the events that are upcoming and to share feedback. And so she really makes sure that we have this inclusive culture where no matter your background, no matter where you started, you come to the table with your ideas, and this is really a true team effort. So I know that resonates with some of my colleagues here on the call. I saw some head nods, but your managers really truly respect what it is that you bring to the table. And that's just something that is really refreshing because we are all highly driven, high performing individuals. We want to continue to do that. And so being able to kind of, lend your expertise, if you will, and also learn from others just makes for a great balance. We've kind of naturally gone into this lovely kind of Q&A. And so I love the questions that are coming in from you guys in the audience. So I want to read some of them out and kind of keep that going. So a lot of day in the life type of questions. And I know that looks different for a number of people. So can you guys panelists talk a little bit about what does your day look like outside of the emails that you're answering back, but what does your day look like when you step into the office and perhaps maybe a normal week would be a little bit more accurate?
I'm happy to get us started on that one. And that's that question makes me laugh because for me personally, my day-to-day looks very different every single day. Obviously running through emails, but there's always ad hoc requests coming in. And there's always kind of sometimes there's fire drills that you need to put out and deadlines that you have to meet that were unexpected. But for the most part, it's I work on data analysis. So I'm looking at data constantly. And again, bringing in a mindset of mitigating risk. So whether that's mitigating risk on BAU, business as usual, or an ad hoc inquiry from a bank, I'm always kind of very connected with several members on my team. A day does not go by without me speaking with either on the phone or via chat with other members of my team. So I'm constantly connected with with a global team. Internally we have a Teams chat where you can connect both internally with the team, but also with the networks that we each kind of touched on. So constantly staying connected with the networks that you're a part of. There's a lot of transparency with what's happening at the office. There's an SF office chat, seeing what's going on, connecting with colleagues within the office as well. So aside from the day-to-day of and again, that looks different for most of us. For me, I'm in Excel, I'm on the phone, answering emails constantly, but also very much staying connected with, what I'm passionate about. And those are the networks that I'm a part of. So, it's a little bit of a mixture of both, professional networks and also my day-to-day BAU.
Love that Excel and Outlook. Anyone else? Anyone talking to clients on a daily basis?
Yeah, I feel like that's most of my days is spent talking to clients, whether that be on the phone, hopping on like a video call, going over different workflows or demoing different features of applications. I am at our client's will, if you will. So all my days are spent just responding to clients, talking to clients, which can be fun. It can be interesting. It can be very stressful, but it's definitely taught me how to balance a lot of different things on my plate at once. So.
Yeah, I would say my day-to-day working within an investment team to Daisy's point looks very different. I would say that like some of the typical kind of activities that I will be working on is different projects. And you think about being in research, so that sometimes could be researching a new asset class or geography we want to go into. So let's just take Australian equities, for example, is an area that we've been keen to explore more recently, and so actually trying to find companies and stocks out there, it's really interesting because they're just not run typically like your US companies. So that's one aspect. Another aspect is kind of being on meetings. My mornings are usually pretty back to back jam packed, just because we have that short window of time to connect with our EMEA and APAC side. So usually a lot of meetings in the morning. But in the afternoon usually turns more to project mode and doing some of that research, writing up different reports and that kind of such. But that is kind of some of the basic activities that usually happen within my day.
Perfect. Love that. I have another question here. I know we have about 10 minutes left, so I want to get as many questions as possible. Joel asked, and I think this is a really important cultural question and a really great interview question for anyone in the audience to kind of steal, but give credit to Joel. But Joel said, Share what a bad day on the job looks like for you. But most importantly, how does working at BlackRock, the work environment itself, aid you in dealing with these situations? So we know we have bad days. We know that sometimes mistakes get made. Anybody want to share, how is that handled and how do you feel and how does your team support you through that?
Yeah, I can talk about it a little bit from the software perspective. Our software works really well most of the time, but there are times it doesn't. And, it's often, so it's, you often, have to, sometimes you have to get up early in the morning or late at night and try and fix the issue. We've got teams all over the world, but sometimes the people with particular expertise in what's going wrong are in a particular location, and then you have to get up early or late, which is not fun. And then, it can actually be quite difficult diagnosing the issue. It's kind of like being a doctor diagnosing a sick patient. There are so many different components and so many different things that could possibly be the culprit. And so you have to spend time trying to diagnose it. And then from there, you have to figure out, okay, how can we quickly and, effectively fix the problem and, do it in a way that's safe and kind of makes sense for all parties involved. And so, the positive things about that are you really learn a lot, especially in terms of like technical knowledge. You can learn an enormous amount from those kinds of investigations, right? When things go wrong, you often learn a lot quicker than when things go right. And I think just broadly, culturally, BlackRock certainly has kind of, I would call it like a blameless culture. Obviously, a lot of the problems are caused by a specific person or a specific bad choice or a specific process that didn't go right. But the focus isn't on, who did this and why did they do it? It's how do we fix the processes so that they don't happen again in the future. And so there's, absolutely no kind of allocation of blame. It's okay, this was a mistake that kind of the entire team made, or this is a mistake that our group takes responsibility for. And then from there, we will kind of come up with a plan of action so that it doesn't happen again. Because, obviously maybe it was caused by one person, but it could have been caused by so many people. So it's the process that's wrong, or the architecture that's wrong, something kind of more broad and impersonal that we can kind of look at. And so then, you never feel like it's really your fault, even if maybe in like a very literal way it is.
Love that. Any other support stories out there? Anybody want to admit the time they made a mistake?
Well, I guess I'll add in there that we to what Forrest is saying, we also like to write blog posts about some of those issues of like what has gone wrong. And like you'll see a lot of those blog posts actually externally, not from us. I don't know if we've published one externally yet, but we write them internally because you want to kind of learn from those mistakes. So I love seeing that. I think we named the series like Wheel of Misfortune or something. So it's like being able to talk through and learn from mistakes in that way is huge.
And you can't be innovative without those risks, right? You have to take chances. That's the only way that you stay at the forefront, that you stay at the top, right? And so like failing fast is probably like a great model for us. Like we want to get out there. We want to try things. We want them to not go well so we can start pinpointing issues. We want to test our processes or stress test, anything that we're putting out there. So we kind of welcome that mentality of like going forward for it because that's the only way that you can kind of go forward. And so your team is behind you. No one's pointing fingers unless you're just continuously making some mistakes there, but none of you will do that, right? Because you all just want to be your best and give your best. And BlackRock champions that. They give you the resources to do that. They give you the support to do that. We have about 5 more minutes. Each of the panelists, thank you for your time, but I want to leave our audience with one bit of advice, as they're going into this internship search, application search. Maybe share some of your favorite resources for learning more about BlackRock, or even continuing to learn about BlackRock because it doesn't end, or learning about the market. Maybe it's an interview tip, but I want to leave them with something to kind of take away that applies for the rest of their kind of, application experience. Bre, we'll start with you. We'll try to keep the same order. My box is going in a little different order here, but Bre, we'll start with you. Any advice you want to leave with our audience today?
Well, I would have to say, and I think this is just kind of a general college interviewing tip for internships and full-time positions, approach it like you would approach dating. You are wanting to find a company that matches your values as much as you want their values to match yours. It's very much, I want to work there and they want me to work there. Don't go chasing the companies that you think everybody else says you should work for just because they say so, and you don't really align with the cultures and the values and the way that they work and the way that their workforce looks. Very much take the opportunity to look across industries, look across firms, and find a culture and work that really suits you and that excites you, because it makes it way easier to get up and go to work, I promise.
Agree with that. Ty, you're next on my list here.
Yeah, definitely. And kind of just touching on the point that we kind of brought up. And I think it was something that, honestly got me the position at BlackRock that I did. And it's really being yourself. Like, I think, my early days of recruiting, freshman, sophomore year, I felt like I had to fit into this mold, or like I had to, talk, act, or be a certain way that the company wanted, a certain skill set. And then I feel like I got to my interview at BlackRock, and granted, my interview was helped by making it a very casual feel, but I just, really just, showcase myself and things that I was passionate about. And although that might not have aligned to everything that the company wanted to do, allowing them to see that really showed my unique capabilities. And so being yourself is probably the most cliche, but, I think it's most important too.
Forrest.
Yeah, in terms of the internship, I kind of hinted at this before, but they're really not they're not expecting you to know how to do the job on day one, but what they do really care about in the interview is that you're going to be passionate enough to learn. And so if I could kind of emphasize one thing that you should try to express in the interview, it's passion about the team, it's passion about BlackRock, it's passion about what they do, so that, the people interviewing you can be confident that you're going to have the passion to learn and become a real asset on the team. And especially because you think, a lot of the people interviewing you, this is what they've chosen to do in their career. So they're passionate about it. And so they want to see that you're passionate about it too.
I love that passion. Mimi, you're next for me on my screen here.
So I'm thinking about 5 years ago when I was interviewing and doing that virtual cover letter for BlackRock. And so mine's a very logistical piece of advice, but I would say record yourself on your phone, computer, whatever, doing your virtual cover letter, which basically I think is just it's pretty quick because it's very, very short. As you guys can tell, I talk a lot. So for me, it was getting my story straight, whether I was doing that in a virtual cover letter at BlackRock or somewhere else. I think BlackRock, back in 2014, 2015, it was very new to be doing that. So I'm sure you're doing that at tons of companies now. But just getting your story straight of what you're passionate about, what you want, and then how that links to the company in a short and quick way is so valuable. It's valuable to me to this day, to being punchy in my emails and my conversations here, which I probably should be less verbose. But yeah, that's my main piece of advice. Record yourself doing it, perfect that, so you kind of hit the ground running when you do the virtual cover letter and your intro interviews.
Love that, Mimi. That's something that I had to work on as well. Daisy, please, your thoughts.
Yeah, thanks, Jade. I think my advice kind of overlaps with Ty and Forrest. So I'll give a little bit of both. So during my interview, I had both behavioral questions and both technical. So just expecting that there'll be a mixture of both. But showing passion and being curious is huge. I remember going through my resume, having practiced it, and I was stopped mid-sentence by the interviewer, and he's like, "What are you passionate about?" It's I read your resume. What are you passionate about? And that took me back, right? That forced me to think about what who I was, what I valued, it was more, again, the authentic self that I was bringing rather than just the knowledge and the skills that I prepared for that interview. So just being prepared to, know yourself, know your strengths, know your weaknesses, kind of dive into that and have that clear for yourself. But also be curious, right? Come prepared with questions. You will be left some time to ask questions. And so, having those prepped, whether that's questions on culture, questions that you have all asked during this session, great questions that we've heard so far. Definitely take some of these away and kind of keep them in your back pocket. But also, genuine questions that you're curious to learn about the firm to see if this is, right fit for you. And, again, it's, as Bre mentioned, it's kind of like dating, right? You're getting to know the firm as much as, we're getting to know you. So definitely having, that curiosity and that passion is definitely super important.
I love it, guys. This was so great. To our Way Up audience, once again, we thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. And thank you to our wonderful panelists. I see so many thank yous coming through in the chat, but also in the Q&A. And a lot of what you said tonight really resonated, it seemed, with the audience. And hopefully you guys took away some tips, some insights, and some things that motivated you to continue your research into BlackRock and help you put together a really strong application. And we cannot wait to see your application be submitted and you part of the Accelerator or you part of the Summer Analyst class of next year. We thank you once again for joining us tonight. Have a great week and weekend, and we'll see you soon. Good night, everyone.